Peace to the congregation, y'all. Peace to the congregation. So, oh, what is my neck? Yeah, see, I'm sweating. It's hot in here, and I just turned on the air, so excuse me. But look. So the title of this is going to be called "The Body of Christ." All right. So we're picking up in Nehemiah 1:1. All right. So that's the one we're gonna go to. And it says, "News from Jerusalem. The words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah, and it came to pass in the month of Chislu in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace. That Hanani, one of my brother, came, he and certain men of Judah, and I asked him concerning the Jews that had escaped, which were left out of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. All right, so beginning in Nehemiah 1:1, this is after the Babylonian captivity. This is in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the first. So purportedly 445 BC, 444 BC. So, you know, powerful times, obviously. But Nehemiah is the cupbearer of Artaxerxes the first. As you can see in Nehemiah 1:11, he says, O Lord, I beseech thee, I let now thine ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant and to the prayer of thy servants, who desire to fear thy name and prosper. I pray thee, thy servant this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man, for I was the king's cupbearer. So he's asking the Lord for clemency from Artaxerxes, because Nehemiah is the cupbearer of Artaxerxes. And so after that, we moving on at the end of 1:11, Nehemiah praised the Lord for that clemency, because after hearing about the remnant in Jerusalem, he wants to go to Judah and rebuild the temple. So this is after this is the first destruction of the temple, after the Babylonian exile. So, and Nehemiah 2:5, he actually beseeches the king. He says, And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it. So that's him beseeching the king. And then when he goes, word, because he asks Artaxerxes to send out letters to the governors beyond the river, the Jordan River, that that the Jews will be rebuilding the temple, and that this should provide them with any assistance and don't bother them, and allow them to rebuild the temple. So along the way, there's a couple of scoffers, a couple of troublemakers. Sambalat the Haranite, Tobiah the servant, he's an Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian. Those people, well, actually, it's only Sambalat the Haranite and Tobiah that hear it first, and the Geshem comes in later. But those are scoffers that bother the Jews as they're rebuilding the temple. And then we're gonna go to Nehemiah 2:20, and it says, because then you have, 2:19, Nehemiah 2:19. But when Shambalat the Horonite and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us and said, What is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king? Then answered I them, said unto them, The God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build, but ye have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. So I thought this was pretty cool, because at 2:20, Nehemiah kind of let them have it, and this just reminds me of situations in life where you're building something, and people will say, "Well, you can't do that," or even they'll just cast their fears upon you. Because I realized in this too, in Nehemiah, a curse is also given onto Nehemiah, because there's a point. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so we resume. So, in Nehemiah 5 and, oh, excuse me, Nehemiah 6:5, we find that Shambaloth, his servant unto me, is in like manner the fifth time with the open letter in his hand. So Shambaloth came to Nehemiah, and wherein it was written is reported among the heathen, other nations, And gospel saith that thou and Jews think to rebel, for which cause thou biddest the wall, and thou mayest be their king, according to their words. So this has happened before. Like when Cyrus allowed the Jews to return to rebuild the temple, um, doggone the other nations told Cyrus at the time, don't let them do that because these people rebel all the time. So don't let them do it, or they gonna rebel again. And Cyrus was like, nah, because he was really lenient on when he annexed the country, allowed those people to I guess practice. So you can attest to that in history. But back to the curse. So Shambhala, we already know, is a hater. He's a Horonite. Then you got Tobiah the servant, who's an Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian. But then you got Shambhala. Nehemiah reports this is the curse right here. He says, um, for they made a they oh, this is Nehemiah 6:9. For they all made us afraid, saying their hands shall be weakened from the work that it be not done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. And right there, when he says, now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands, Nehemiah is praying to break the curse. Because they said their hands shall be weakened from the work, meaning Nehemiah was speaking to the scoffers, Sanballat, Tobiah the Horonite, and Geshem. And these people represent other nations as a whole. Just other people just here to sabotage you as you rebuilding the temple. Um, so I read that already. So this story shows like Nehemiah was on a mission because he said the God put this in his heart. And there he was on a mission to rebuild the temple. And suppose this is 20 years after Ezra. Nehemiah is supposedly. I don't know the whole research on it, but I know from cursory searching that's what it revealed. So yeah, you just have these rejection of the scoffers, different nations, which Israelites were all warned about as they entered into across the Jordan and into the promised land. Because before this in Urza, which apparently it was 20 years before, Urza was putting away foreign women as well. And these represents the influence of foreign nations on the Israelite mindset. Because if you go to Deuteronomy 23 and 3, so let's go to that. Oh shoot, look at it. It flipped right to it. Okay. 23, 3. All right, and I got to underline. It says, "An Ammonite or Moabite shall." Oh, Deuteronomy 23 and 3. "An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever." All right, so you know that is pretty straightforward right there. That tells you about like not allowing Ammonites and on this page, Ammonites and Moabites into the congregation. So and they had Moabite and Ammonite wives. All right, that's why I was getting at. Because if we go to, I don't know if it shows it this, but like that's why Israel was putting away foreign wives because there were 7 nations that the Israelites were told not to intermingle with, and they were I can't name them off the top, but I might miss some. But Perizzites, Jebusites, Amorites, the Horites, Canaanites, the Hittites. Uh, I can't think of them all right now, but it'll come back to me. But those nations they were told not to intermarry with them specifically. And that's actually the law on that, man. But let's see, Deuteronomy 7. Yeah, that's it. Deuteronomy 7. Oh, all right. So yeah, I'm already there. Deuteronomy 7:3. Neither shall thou. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Deuteronomy 7:1. Deuteronomy 7:1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgasites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. So there you go. The 7 nations, the Israelites were told not to intermingle with these 7 nations. Do not intermarry with them. Don't give your sons to their daughters. Don't give your daughters to their sons, because they're gonna be a snare upon you. Obviously, and he will destroy you because of his sin. So you get in Deuteronomy 23. I mean, excuse me, not Deuteronomy 23, but you get in let me see, Urza 9 and 1. Even before Urza 2, you get it in King Solomon's time too. But let's go to Urza 9 and 1. 3:10. This is a KJV, so I ain't got no preference, but I read this because it's the most available, and you know. So okay. All right. So 9 and 1. Now there's a 9 and 1. Now, when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the people of Israel, the priests and the Levites, have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. And they added more people here because they added the Egyptians. Um, I guess they added, yeah, that was it. And the Moabites too, because the Israelites encountered the Moabites coming out of Egypt, but they were not given their land, so they added them to this list. But this was a transgression, apparently, according to the time. Um, what else? What else? Yes, this was a transgression because Solomon was also he was also admonished for that as well, for having foreign wives. So this is a common thing. This is just a situation of allowing foreign elements, alien elements into your holy land and preventing your work from being done because they got different beliefs. Because how can two walk hand in hand unless they be of one mind? Truly. But you see, Urza did it 20 years before Nehemiah, and Nehemiah does it in 1323. Shoot, let's go. Oh, Job is after this. Okay, cool. 13 and 23. Um, Nehemiah 13 and 23. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashad, of Ammon, and of Moab. So specifically Ammonites and the Moabites. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashad and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them and plucked up off their hair and made them swear by God, saying, ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. So did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there's no king like him, who's beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. So shall we then hearken unto you to do all these great evil, to transgress against our God and marry strange wives? So as you see, not permitted in the law of Moses. Obviously. So this is even compounded in Joshua 23 and 13. So let me go into that. Uh, I passed it. 23. And then Joshua 23 and 13. And it says, know for a certainty that the Lord your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from off this good land which the Lord your God hath given you. So, obviously, once again, mentioning foreign wives and other nations needing to be purged from the area, which is why, 'cause you see what they do, like the Horonites, the Arabians, the freaking, the servant Tobiah, the house Negro. He came down and, they just bothering people and stopping them from building the temple. And the temple is really an acronym for the body of Christ, because, this is just a earthly, carnal version of what happens in the New Testament. So yeah, it's basically this is talking about purification. And I can think there's a lot of purification going on in the world right now with, earthquakes, wars, like sickness, people getting sick. I think there's a lot of purification going on in general. And this is actually, I think, the same incident in which I gave my life to Christ. I think it happened like a couple of years ago. I think this is because I remember someone was building a wall, and that's what they're doing here because they would. building the wall, and the people thought they were going to rebel because they were building the wall. And these guys came up acting like Shambhala, came up acting like they was friends, but they wanted to kill them. So I remember that happening, and then that night after that, there was like some people I thought were my friends who were trying to get me to smoke weed, and that's against the law. So I was trying to stop, but I was weak against it. But I went back with them. I can't remember if I did or not. Probably did. But yeah, that's against the law. Damages your body and your temple. And our body's a temple, so you're not supposed to put stuff in it that damages stuff outrightly. Everything kind of damages you, so some things you can't avoid, but knowingly, willingly, as a practice. But yeah, just wanted to talk about purification, and I just thought how it's cool, like you should get a precedent of the body of Christ in the holy temple in the Old Testament. Not starting with Nehemiah, but you see the building, how things are built up over the course from Genesis to Nehemiah. And I'm trying to do my first take. This is my first time reading the Bible from beginning to end, and it's been a really great experience, really. And I want to like give my review, but my thoughts are. So I'm taking time to write them down, and I'm gonna put them out. But let me know if y'all like that, and peace out.